What is up, guys? We are back with another video, and today I'm going to be telling you about this big ass monitor that is behind me. Now, I have been using this 49-inch ultra wide for pretty much like 3.5 months now, and I moved from a 32-inch or a 34-inch ultra wide to this big ass 49-inch. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the pros and cons of maybe making that switch, if it's worth making that switch, and just the things I really like about this monitor and how it's improved my productivity as well as workflow. So let's go ahead and get started. I had actually been using a 34-inch ultra wide since 2017, and when I first put my eyes on that first 34-inch that I had, I was so happy. It replaced my two 24-inch monitors. And if you ever go from a dual monitor setup, so I had two 24-inch monitors, to a single full screen, no bezel, it's like night and day, and I don't think you'll ever go back. The monitor I was using previously was the MSI Optics MPG 341 CQR, which was a 34-inch 3440 by 1440 display with a 144 Hertz refresh rate, as well as a 1800 R curve. Now, the resolution of most 34-inch ultra wides is 3444 by 1440, and I think that's great. That allows you to have two full-size windows open. It's great for multitasking. For me, I would have whatever review I was working on one screen, and then on the other, I would have like pictures of the product so I could be writing about it. If you're doing video work, you can use the entire screen and you have a wider or longer timeline, which is excellent for video editing. There's a lot of different things you can do in that resolution. So I really liked it for multitasking. I really liked it for productivity. Pretty much everything I did was like a window beside a window besides video editing, and it worked really great. When it came to gaming on this monitor, I really liked it. A lot of games are meant to be immersive, and having the 21:9 aspect ratio and the screen that I have was curved, so I had that just more immersive experience, which is really good. If you're playing like super fast-paced FPS, you could always do the window, 1440p window in the center, and you'd be fine as well. After having a 34-inch screen for what seemed like forever, I guess just since 2017, I was like, I'm running out of room, which sounds really weird to say, especially if you're somebody right now watching this and you're on like a 24-inch 1080p screen or even 1440p screen. You think this guy's crazy. But I always thought that I was just running out of room, and I was actually going to stack two 34-inch monitors. But then, our friends at Viotek, they reached out and they had this new monitor. It's a 49, and I was like, yes, I want to check out this monitor for sure. And that was kind of like the big reason. I was actually looking at 49-inch monitors before this. I had a couple in my Amazon save for later because I was eventually going to buy them. And that was a big reason, just more space. I mainly use this setup to write reviews, to edit videos. It's more work than play. So I definitely wanted something that would help me be more productive. So the display that Viotek sent over was their SUW49DA, which is a 49-inch ultra wide 5120 by 1440 with a 120 Hertz refresh rate. So the number one thing with this monitor, of course, is screen real estate. It's basically like having two 27-inch 1440p monitors, and I love having more space. With my 34-inch screens, I always felt like I needed that third window, and technically I could break up the, 34-inch into three separate windows or screens, but the windows would be too small. They'd be crunched in, and it wouldn't be good for productivity. Or if you're a web designer trying to view a web page and that's crunched down, it's just not going to be good. So having more screen real estate is awesome with this. I split this up into three separate screens, and this monitor does not come with any software to do that. Some do, but this one does not. I use a program called Display Fusion. I think they have a 30-day free trial. I went through the free trial and I loved it. So I went ahead and picked it up. I think it's like 30 bucks or something like that, but it allows me to easily split this monitor up into 3 screens. So that way in my center screen, I have, my work, and my side screen, I have like either, Spotify or something that I'm working on, or Twitter. And then over here, I have like notes or whatever. It makes my productivity workflow go so much better just having more screen real estate. As I mentioned, I do quite a lot of video editing, and having just a longer timeline is absolutely amazing. Now, I don't use the entire screen for Adobe Premiere, but I use a good bit of it, and then on the end, I just have my folder that has all of my video and audio files in it. This just makes things so much easier. Just having more space to operate within Premiere is awesome. That's one of my favorite things about this monitor. For those who want to do a dual system setup, maybe you have your laptop that you're bringing home and you want to plug into half the screen, or you have a console and you want to play games and then do your work on another half of the screen. This monitor does accept up to 4 inputs. You can easily do picture in picture, you can do all that kind of stuff. Now this monitor does not have a KVM built in, but some do. But just being able to, if I do have a laptop, I can bring it over here and connect it and have half the screen as my main system and the other half as my laptop. When it comes to gaming, I did mention this is a 120 hertz screen, but most of these monitors aren't really geared towards gamers. Well, 120 hertz of course is better than 60 and 75. It's not like the 144 or 240 hertz screens, and almost all of these big monitors like this don't really have gaming specs per se. There are a few that do, but they're incredibly expensive. But if you do want to game, if you want to game in that massively awesome, immersive, full screen, expect that to really tax your system. Now I have a 3090, so I could play Cyberpunk full screen on this, no problem. But for a lot of fast-paced games, you're also not going to want to play in full screen, because if I'm playing an FPS, you do actually have to move your head left or right to see what's on the far part of the screen. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. Also, there's not a whole lot of games that will support the 31:9 aspect ratio, so you have to keep that in mind as well. But for the most part, I play mostly FPS, so what I do is do that 1440p screen in the middle, and then it's perfect for me, no issues. And what's awesome about that, we do that on our streaming nights, and I can watch Ryan in the corner of my screen in between our matches and things like that. So while this isn't a gaming monitor, gaming is still pretty good on it. And if you are playing like those fun arcade games or those massively open world games that aren't very taxing, having that massive screen is pretty awesome. So there are some other things that I wanted to talk about, with this monitor. First is that it's huge. I mean, look at this thing. It's massive. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you have enough room on your desk for this monitor. I use the Autonomous Smart Desk 2. I have the XL tabletop, which is the biggest one that they offer, and this thing takes up pretty much all of it. So it's definitely something you're gonna wanna keep in mind. Also with the size is the weight. I believe this monitor weighs about 20 pounds or something like that. So I have it on its normal stand, but if you wanted to either wall mount it, or if you wanted to get a monitor arm, you need to make sure it's within the weight constraints, because I know people that have got one of these and then they try to mount it to like the $30 cheap monitor arm and then it falls over and breaks. So you definitely don't want to do that. Another thing that is a little weird about this monitor is just the aspect ratio itself. 32:9, there's not a whole lot of content out there. Most of the content that you're gonna find is some weird stuff on YouTube or like movie trailers that are specifically made in 32:9. But for the most part, if you're watching your favorite YouTuber, you're gonna have these big black bars on each side of the screen. And it's kind of, it's fine, you get used to it, but if you really kind of just want to immerse yourself, it's going to be hard to really find a whole lot of content that takes up the entire screen. Now this next thing doesn't really have to do specifically with a 49-inch monitor, but it's pretty much all ultra wides. It's that if you're going from a multi-monitor setup to a single monitor setup, you're gonna have less cable mess, you're gonna have less mess on your desk, because again, we only have a single stand, not 2 or 3 stands, and we only have one power cable and one display cable rather than multiple with, you know, multiple monitors. So just going from multiple monitors to a single monitor, it looks cleaner. I'm a big setup guy, so I like my, you know, setup to look nice and clean. So again, just less cable mess, which I love, and less connections as well. So as we end this video, the big question is it worth upgrading from a 34-inch monitor to a 49-inch monitor? And it's kind of a complicated question, but for me, I think if you're somebody who's doing a lot of productivity work and you need multiple windows open, this is going to make your workday so much easier. It's going to allow you to complete tasks much faster. And if you're a creative and you're doing video editing, photo editing, editing a podcast, things like that, having that massively long timeline just makes things so much easier. Or you can still have a very massive timeline and then have something else in the corner. Being able to split the screen up into a ton of different splits just makes things, just makes, you can pretty much put anything where you want in this monitor on the screen, and it's gonna make your workflow go by so much easier. So I think that, you know, if you just bought a 34-inch, use it for a few years, and then these will be incredibly cheaper, or we might even get a bigger screen down the line. But I mean, this thing's huge, so we'll see. But if you've had a 34-inch screen for a while now and you've been thinking about upgrading, or you were like me and were like, I just need a little bit more space, this is gonna be an awesome upgrade, and it's gonna be a monitor that you're gonna have for a very long time. I don't see myself replacing this with anything anytime soon. For my workflow and for what I do, this is the holy grail of monitors. I thought that the 34 inches were the holy grail because, again, going from 224s to the 34 was like, it was awesome. But now going from a 34 to a 49 is even better. And I'm mind blown at how awesome this monitor is. Now, if you're a gamer, this isn't a gaming monitor. But you can, like I said, it's 120 hertz. I mainly play, we play games once a week, and I mainly play in the center of the screen most of the time because I play FPS. But if you like to play big, wide open world games, then this is going to be a fun monitor to play with. The performance isn't going to be as good as, you know, other monitors that are actually marketed as gaming monitors, but it's still going to be pretty good. And I think if you do more work than gaming, then this is going to be the perfect monitor for you. Now, if you have any questions about this monitor specifically, or about 49-inch monitors in general, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. I will have links where you can go ahead and pick this monitor up, as well as links to everything else in the description. If you did enjoy this video, I would appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up, and we'll see you guys in the next video.